Okay. Good morning, Tansa, everyone, and welcome back to the Onion Lake Cree Nation 7 Generation podcast brought to you by Onion Lake Public Relations and 7 Gen Productions. Today we're here with the principal and vice principal of Pewasenakwan Primary School. They're gonna shine a light on the incredible work happening with our youngest learners. We're talking education, Cree culture, student success, and the heart of what makes this school such an important place for our future generations. Hi for tuning in, and let's get into it. So, it's for starters, can you both introduce yourselves and share your roles here at Pewasenakwan Primary School?
Good morning. That's Troy Nitsiga soon. Troy from Onion Lake, and I'm the vice principal. Good morning.
Morning, Troy.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Tamara Patagan. I'm the principal at Pewasenakwan Primary School, and I am an Onion Lake Cree Nation band member.
Okay. How long have you both been in education, and what brought you to Pewa School?
I've been in education going on 15, 16 years now. So quite a while. Mainly been teaching grade 7 in the middle school years, grade 6, that area. What brought me to Pewasenakwan was an opportunity to work as an administrator within Pewa, and yeah, it's been really a good experience. Just started here in September, at the end of September. It was like I found out on for Wednesday, and then I moved on the Friday. So it was a really fast transition, and I'm still learning a lot, and it's great. It's going good.
Right on. Spatagan.
Well, I've been honestly teaching since 2006, going into 2007. So yeah, I've been in the education field for a long time now that I think about it. But I started out teaching in Thunderchild First Nation as a gym teacher, and then moved into the high school position as their gym teacher. So I met a lot of wonderful people over there, and slowly transitioned home. And I started out at the primary school originally in the grade 2 position, and then inclusion. And then I moved back to the high school for Eagleview, and was really good to connect back with the high school students. And then I took the master's program, and a position opened up for the vice principal role at Pewa. And that is how I slowly transitioned back to Pewasenakwan.
Deadly. For our listeners, can you share the grade levels taught here and what makes this school unique within Onion Lake?
So at Pewasenakwan, we start off with Head Start. Our Head Start program brings the connection from the families to the school life, and also making those connections for outside supports, and creating a successful start for our students and our families who are just needing that extra support. So that grade, that age is 3. So they can come in at 3 to 4. And then we start off with our pre-K program, which is also known as nursery. Then we go to kindergarten, and then grade 1. So our school right now is Head Start to grade 1. And our current enrollment is 224 students with the Head Start included.
Nice. You want to add anything to that, Troy? It's up to you.
I mean, just going on Tamara's point about what makes our school so, integral in the education system is the fact that, it's the jumping off point for their education. So we're basically laying down the groundwork and trying to get as much support for the students as possible. And that's one thing that I've seen coming in from Eagle View is like when we're when we meet with the parents, the first thing we do is like if have you what are some things that you've experienced at home? Are there any problems? And we talk about the student and or the child, and again, see if there's any way that we can support, whether it be at home or within the classroom. So, yeah.
Nice.
One of the other things, though, that's really special about our school is yes, we are the starting point for our kids' journey into education, but we're also one of the main supports for our families to make those connections to the outside supports. A lot of our families are not aware of the programs that are out there to help support them. We've supported a lot of unfortunately, a lot of our grandparents are raising their tzitzim, so we help them and educate them and do our best to support them because it does uh, begin to be a lot,
Mhm.
and it can be a lot if we don't know what programs are there. So we really try to make those connections and build that relationship. So it's a good solid foundation for our families.
Yeah. Where could parents or caregivers find more information about programs or just options or things that they're dealing with at home with their students? Maybe is it like centralized on a website or Facebook, or is it just phone in and have that conversation?
So, I understand that some families have better connections with certain staff. So I would just open up the door to say whoever you're connected with the most, ask them these questions, and then all staff, all education staff, and all of Onion Lake Education know the steps to bring the families in and to get those supports in place. So, and when you're saying what kind of where's the outlet, we did have a pamphlet that went out for all Onion Lake Education that had our secondary supports, or speech pathologists, our occupational therapists, our educational psychologists. All of these people are on that pamphlet. However, it can come across intimidating if we don't know what their job description is. And so what we do at Paywa is we invite families in to come in for, meet with us. And then I try to make it as intimate as possible so they're not feeling overwhelmed.
Mhm.
And sometimes, it does take us also going to do, maybe we go for coffee outside of the whole school atmosphere. So we just try to meet the needs of the family and where they're at, and then um, do our best that way.
Deadly. Um, yeah. So by the sounds of it, like as a parent myself, if I'm experiencing challenges with my girl, whether it's her learning or like her learning development or whatever, or just any type of issues, I think it's just a simple phone call into the school, right? And start like inquiring, building that relationship. um I know in previous discussions with education staff, like with all grades and all schools, I think there's a huge desire for parental involvement in the school. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
No,
Oh, sorry.
sorry. Let me just piggyback off of that. So, yes, we do encourage parents to come. A big part of that step is also our screeners. So, if you notice, families, we do have screeners in the summer. So, that'll be the pre K screeners. And that's where we figure out, you'll notice you go through different stations during those screeners. And that's when you can be making those connections to our speech and language, our occupational, the dental team, our nutritional team. Our nutritionist is there. Everybody comes together, and that's kind of how we do a wraparound. And
Mm,
then we kind of figure out which families are needing more supports,
yeah.
and that's how we kind of like make those connections. But yes, we do encourage 100% parental involvement. We invite our parents in as much as we can. I'll let Troy go off and finish with that.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say exactly that. Parent involvement is obviously one of the best ways that we can uh, uh, keep the students coming into school. It's a good retention method in terms of like if we can contact the parent they're more likely, and gain the trust of the parent, we're more likely to keep the student within the school. So yeah, parent involvement is very, very important. And I think when it comes to like primary school students, it is a lot easier to involve the parents that way. I noticed that, like, as a teacher in the higher grades, like middle school, it's a little more challenging and that kind of stuff. But when being in the primary school, it's a lot easier to involve the parents that way. And I think it has a lot to do with, like, oh, that's my baby, So, which is great, because if we're looking at our attendance is awesome.
Mhm.
Um, like we had last month in October, we had 60, no, six, sorry, we had six of our classes with over 80% attendance,
Mm.
which is amazing. This month in November, we had four, which is still really good. And overall, we were about 77% attendance, which is again amazing. So our attendance and our parent contact, is always important. And I think, like I said, it's a lot easier because they're our babies.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think too, like another part of that is like it's not so like math and English because it's kind of
Mhm.
out of that age range, I think, or when they're older. So you get to have a little more fun with the kids and the school and the teachers and stuff. I think like to be a part of that. It seems like I don't know. But next question. What is the overall vision or philosophy that guides Pewasenakwan Primary School?
Well, we do have a school pledge, but personally, what I'd like to do for our families and our school is just build up the retention. And so that was a big part of our goal. My personal goal this year was to build up the retention. So if you come into Pewa Senegwan this year, you'll notice that we have the 4 banners up. One of the banners have our Cree prayer up, our welcome sign in Kriep. And we've also developed 4 animals for each of our wings. So we have 4 wings in our school. And when they're blue, green, red, and yellow, trying to make it more primary based and looking more kid friendly, we've created 4 animals. So we have the bear, we have the pony, the eagle, and the buffalo, and we have them in cartoon characters. And I think that just added a warm touch. And so when families, for myself, if I walk my daughter into school, I want to know the school is feeling like warm, friendly, and all of that. And it just reassures me as a parent that, my baby's in a good school.
Mhm.
And so I really wanted to bring that warm atmosphere for our little guys. And we go hard for every special event. So, like, we decorated for Halloween, Christmas. We just try and make it so magical for our baby. So, a big goal for mine was retention, but overall, the school goal is building up their identity, and having them understand, their nihewak, and to be proud in that. And so how we tackle that is we say our announcements in Cree.
Mhm.
We have our virtues we practice. We have our students, we share those in Cree as well. Um, we have our school song. We have that in Cree as well. So we really try to reiterate our language. One of the goals is, we do identify our staff as, for example, Mr. LaRock, myself, Miss Patagan. But I'd like our students, moving into the new year, one of the goals was to acknowledge our teachers as Ogiskanamagil.
Mm.
Yes, they need to know their primary name, but it's important they also, understand that um, the Cree language.
Yeah, I just that's a good point. By the sounds of it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think just with their whole like development, personal development, growing up and being like graduating grade 12, becoming adults, the value of identity and language, like that's still a big part of every age group going through the education system. Um, yeah. Why do you guys feel that's important for our kids in this age group? Just as they're growing up, why is it important to tie identity and language into the what they're doing?
Well, you know, as we know, well, in terms of research, it shows that the more language that's used, whether it be in the school or at home, at a younger age, they're more likely to retain that. And when it comes to identity, if they always say if you don't know your history, you don't necessarily know where you're going. And identity is a huge part of our
Mm,
of who we are and our history. And in this age group, having them identify as a Nehewak or as Awasisak, our children, it's very important because if they don't know who they are and growing that identity, then at an early age, it becomes a little bit harder, and then they begin to question their identity and culture and who they are,
mm,
and they may um, say fall into a bad crowd or identify as other identities or that kind of stuff. So
mhm.
I think it's very important for us.
Yeah.
It also encourages, at the end of the day, our babies are our foundation. And when we feed into them and praise them and encourage them to be proud of who they are, they stand stronger. They're more confident. Um, it's their spirit, right? And so, for example, I was in a kindergarten class this morning before I made my way this way. They recited the Cree prayer all together, and to hear
Mm,
our little baby saying that so naturally and so, like, proud, that's exactly why it's important for their identity, because that's who they are, and for them to say it so naturally, it's powerful. So our little guys are healers, and so for them to be proud in who they are, it's healing for everybody.
mhm. Yeah. I just want to add to that, like just as an example, like us three sitting here, right? Like we all went to school, we went to post sec, we were in the mainstream, but at the end of the day, like our identity, I think, helped us on that journey, as tough as it is going through all that. Being connected to your roots
Mhm.
is really important, right? Especially at this age, starting to introduce them to that, and hopefully, planting that seed that they could carry it with them as they grow up.
Mhm.
So cool. um, what are some of the key focus areas or priorities for the school this year?
So, for example, one of our goals was, retention, right? That was a big thing. Making sure our babies are coming to school, because a big part of our school is routines and procedures. And, pre K, they're learning how to play together. A big part of the pre K program is routine. So they're just getting into routine, learning how to play with one another, learning how to transition. You know, when I'm saying transition, some of our little guys have a hard time transitioning from, say, centers to recess because they still want to play, right? So they're
Mm,
learning how to say, okay, no, time's up. We have to transition to this. And it seems so like oblivious for us because we're adults, but our little guys, when they're hyper fixated on something, it's hard. So,
yeah.
like, that's why it's so when they miss school a lot, it's getting them back into a routine, and then kindergarten, they move, we have our programming. So when they miss a bunch of days, they're falling behind, even though it does seem like like a baby school. They're
Mm,
still learning a lot of foundations that bring them forward. So a big part of it for sure was retention and also cultural. So that was our focus this year. We have amazing staff. I'm not too worried about their academics because they're all so strong. But a big goal was retention. And, like we're seeing the success of that already with our students coming to school and with our perfect attenders trips. Like we just literally took 46 kids bowling.
mm,
And when you think about it, bowling is supposed to be so easy, but it's literally like you think about it, 46 4-year-olds and to
like one is a
7.
lot, right?
Yes, and we took them bowling. So
They were like shot putting it down. They're just chucking it, and it's just,
Yeah.
I would look back at the manager and I'd be like,
yeah, so we really try to reward our babies for coming. So we took them on the charter bus, and even just that experience was so fun for them because they got to watch the movie right in the bus, and we treated them obviously with some McDonald's.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, a lot of our families don't get that a lot, so we just try to give them that experience, and a big part of that was the retention.
Yeah.
They're coming every day. But
Mhm.
a big part of that is also the relationships our teachers are making with their classrooms. So their classroom environment is very welcoming,
Yeah.
very warm, and it's just the natural love our babies, they show up and we're so thankful for them.
Yeah.
I think another part of that as well with retention, is literacy in terms of a goal that we have at the school because
Mm,
again, I'm going to say this again is if we look at the research, um, if a student isn't reading at grade level by grade 3, it's going to be a lot harder for them to read moving forward. And when we talk about literacy, and we're really laying down the groundwork as kindergarten, grade 1. ABCs, phonics. This is what the sound in A makes, or breaking down the sounds in a word so that they're able to read it and spell it, um, and also see the patterns within the words. So, and again, going back to retention, if they're not showing up, they're not necessarily learning this stuff.
yeah.
So, and literacy is very important when it comes to the school. So,
Deadly. Love it. Going back to the literacy topic, and just a little side question, because I don't know the stages of development and stuff, but around what age should kids be able to read? Like for example, I have a 4-year-old, right? She can't read, but like when does that happen? Like grade 1 or 3 or
Well, in our kindergarten, like our babies in pre-K, they're learning how to create the alphabet, right? They're learning letter recognition. Obviously, they're reciting the alphabet, but that's by memory. So in kindergarten, they're really focusing on the sounds,
Mhm.
the capital A, lowercase a, and then they start working on blending, right? So our Haggerty program focuses on the auditory. So they're learning to hear the sound and then blending it together. Our Jolly Phonics also works on that. And then they do read aloud. So it's the comprehension. So I would say kindergarten is the starting point.
Mm, cool. Right on. Good to know. Another question I had, something you guys touched on here. um, Routine. What is the importance of routine, especially after school or towards like bedtime? Why is that important for kids, especially in this age range and being involved in school and just how young they are growing up. So
Okay, so routine is so important. Routines and procedures are so important because once our kids understand what comes next, what to expect, they're not caught off guard. For example, I always use this example. us three here at the table can look at our phone and say, okay, it's 6 minutes to 11. Our little guys don't know that, but they understand the routine. And so, for example, they understand the bell system at work, right? And so that's why we have visuals. So our visuals are there to help them understand, okay, once the red line is no longer there, the red,
Yeah.
time's up, right? So
Mm.
routines are so important because once they're out of routine, it's hard to get them back. So for example, myself, my kids have hockey Tuesday, Thursdays. I already know we're going to be out of routine Wednesday morning because they're tired, right?
Mm.
Because we're getting home late. I usually try to have my kids, settled and getting ready for bed by 8. By 9 o'clock, my little girl is out, but my son has hockey late, right, on those nights. So I already know I'm gonna be dealing with a little grouchy girl in the morning, so that's what I'm saying. Our routines are so important because if they're not getting enough rest, you know, use yourself for example. If you didn't have a good night's sleep and you come in here, you're not gonna perform your best.
Yeah.
It's the
Uh,
same thing for our little guys.
yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, I have a 2-year old daughter, and you know, setting up those routines, she knows exactly what to expect now. Um, after when you eat, it's time to have a bath, and then it's funny because when I start the bath, she comes running in and takes off her clothes, and then she goes up into this cupboard that we have, and there's these like color tablets now you can buy where they just toss them into the bath, and so she comes when she hears the water running, she comes in, grabs those, and throws them in, and then we have our bath, and she doesn't want to get up because she knows what's coming next. She's like, it's time for bed. But we so again, it just with the routine, it sets up those expectations of what's coming next.
Mhm.
And if we don't have those routines, then you know they don't necessarily know what to expect. And we see that every day sometimes. Well, again, how important retention is. We see that every day with our students who have missed long periods of time because they come in, they don't have those routines laid down, and they're in some cases, they'd rather be playing in the gym or wandering on the halls, and we for some of our kids that are nonverbal, it's very difficult to be able to communicate with them these expectations when they're not on routine.
Yeah.
So
Right on. Um, where do you see the most? I think we touched on this already. Where do you see the most growth happening in students, in staff, or in the overall school environment?
Well, personally, this year I see our staff just making those connections with our families. I'm so proud of our staff and how they are just, becoming their own. So last year, as the vice principal, I really worked closely with our EAs. So our EAs are so strong too. I'm honestly just proud of our staff. So they're being more adventurous in trying to go out of their realm of learning, and also just for example, one of our goals is to all our staff be familiar with the AAC device. So we have a lot of nonverbal students, and one of their goals is to have the AAC device out. That's their line of communication, and we have one little girl who's just having such a big success with that, and that's also, the hard work of our EA, working with her in the Inclusion Catalyst and also the mom. So it's a big wraparound. So that's why I'm saying like it's one of the goals is to make those connections with the families. So once everybody's on board, our children thrive. And so that's why I'm so proud of our staff in making those connections with our families, and our families, feeling more welcome to come into the school and not be scared, because it's really challenging to hear as a parent or a Gugum, auntie, whatever,
Mhm.
that, your child, is facing a little bit of difficulty. That's hard for anybody to swallow.
Mhm.
But, what I want to let our families, our community know is that there's ways we can help and support.
Mhm.
And yes, it is tough to hear, but we have supports lined up. And once you see the supports we have lined up and have in place, it just feels better. I've had a lot of Gugums feel thankful that we were able to make those connections for them. And that's, I guess one of the big things I'm so proud of this year is our staff just building those connections.
Awesome.
Going on with what Tamara said, in terms of, having our families reach out and be able to accept support and that kind of stuff. A lot of things that we talk about, um, you know, can seem somewhat overwhelming. Like, for example, a sensory room. Well, what's a sensory room, right? What is that? And some people might not know what it does for our students, or why it's there. And it's basically a room with like some toys and stuff that help our students remain calm, or just
Regulate.
regulate. Yes, thank you. Regulate their emotions and their feelings. And like, for example, there's this thing called a body sock. I don't know, have you ever seen a body sock?
No.
So it's basically this real stretchy material, and you step into it and you zipper it up, and so the students are running around with, in this like
Mm.
big sock, and they can't like stretch out and stuff, and
Yeah.
so there's a little bit of resistance, but it helps them
I'm
regulate
gonna
their
buy one of those.
it helps them regulate their emotions and how they're feeling. So, and a lot of people, again, when you say things like sensory room or OT, and that kind of stuff, it can be intimidating. But again, these are just supports in place so that we can help our students.
Deadly.
Before anybody goes into the sensory room, though, we do get consent from our parents and our guardians from the with the occupational therapist. So our occupational therapist does observations and sees what needs are needed. So some students need like sensory processing, so they'll do more like touch, right? So for example, you have a fidget on your desk. Some of our little guys need that just sitting at the desk, right? Um, some of our guys like weighted blankets, weighted lap pads. So if you're thinking of sensory room as adults, we also create that space in our own home. So you're thinking about it, you have a long day at work. What I do is I like to just go into my bedroom. I tell my kids, time out, don't get to bother me for, you know, like half
4
hour.
hours.
Yeah, you don't get to bother me for a little bit here. And I just shut my lights and I just lay down and I put my weighted blanket on me and I just need to like come back down. So, our little guys need that too. And I think we wanna believe our little guys don't need that, but they do. So each classroom also has a calming corner, when our little guys are having, like, a meltdown or just need a timeout, that's a space that's also created for them. So our sensory room, we have a swing, we have a ball pit, we have all these sensory outputs that can be achieved in the sensory room.
Deadly. Um, I have another question here. I think you guys touched on all of it. We could skip it. I'll just read it out. If you guys want to touch on it some more, we can. If not, we can move on to the next question. How do you support students' emotional, mental, and social well-being? I think we covered all of it.
Well, we have to meet with the family first. And, once we meet with the family, we can say, okay, this is what we're seeing. What are you seeing at home? Because, like I said, a lot of families um, think, first and foremost, our place is not to judge. Our place is to support. And so, I know our families can feel a little bit timid about sharing, what they see at home or what they experience with their little guy or little girl. Um, like, for example, going to town, going to all of these. And so a lot of our kids have emotional needs, first and foremost, trauma is comes in many forms, and sometimes our little guys come with that little package to school. So what we can do is provide supports for the family. So our first step is a family meeting, and then that's what we share. This is what we're seeing. What are you seeing at home?
Mhm.
What do you do at home to help? So we can practice that at school, and then we can share what we can support for the child at school, and then that's when we get the consent. So, for example, the occupational therapist, our speech pathologist. So sometimes our students also need outside secondary support. So that's Midwest Connections in Lloydminster. That's also wellness. We do have a child therapist, play therapist here in wellness, and
Mm.
she comes into our school and she supports some students individually, but families need to go make that connection first. I can't get them connected to the therapist, they have to do that. So we make those connections because a lot of families, if they don't know, right, they struggle in silence. So we really try to make those connections.
Not only that, but we have Vivian Chief, who is also our guidance counselor, and she sees students individually with consent, of course.
Mhm.
And not only that, but she goes into classrooms and assists with teaching the WITS program, which is walk away, walk away, ignore, talk to someone, and S is something. Sorry.
Smoke 'em.
No.
Just kidding.
um, and we also have other programs, for example, school moves, in which we teach students how to again regulate themselves, not just using the common corridor, but doing things physically like squeezes with their hands or on their
Mhm.
body. Making a pretzel out of their arms and legs. Again, these are simple things that they're capable of learning and doing. So helping them emotionally, socially, again with wits, and our guidance counselor also taking those kids with consent. So
Thank you, Troy. We also do Focus. Focus is also a program that everybody does in the school. And what they do is just burn energy and then get them back regulated. We also have
Mm.
Recess Reset. So when you think about it, when our little guys go play outside, right, they have outside energy. They could be loud, whatever, right? And then when they come in, we have to tell them, okay, now it's time for inside energy, right? And so we'll do some calm down strategies to get them back regulated, right? Also, we meet their needs physically right in the morning. So we have our breakfast program, lunch program, snack program.
I know it seems like a lot to take in, right? We're doing all these things, but again, we have such a wider array of personalities coming in with our students, and we have to do everything that we can to assist them in learning how to regulate themselves and how to control their emotions, because that's how they learn, right? If they're not regulated and they're coming in and they don't know how they don't know the routines, they're not regulated, they're not going to be willing to learn. So yeah, it's very important.
Yeah, deadly. Next question. I think it kind of ties it all together. What does strong school community partnership look like to you?
I'll start a little bit, and I'm sure Tamara will have a lot to add in. um, but what? Again, I'm just dipping into this role, but you know, when I think about a school, um, I worked in communities where there was only one school, and the school is essentially the heart of the community, where that's where all the events take place. That's where the community meets. That's where they do have the funerals. That's where they have the celebrations. When I think about uh you know uh, a school, I think about creating the community within the school, and how we do that is by inviting all of the community, because everybody has capacity and everybody has something to offer to the school. Doesn't matter, if you have a college degree, you do have something to offer to teach these kids and to give to the community. And when I think about all that Onion Lake has, we have a lot of agencies that are not present in other communities. For example, wellness or you know other things. If you guys, our main concern is with the kids, we invite them in. We want to be able for them to offer something. For example, just the other day we had sports and rec come in and they're like, hey, we want to help with intramurals. How can we do that? And we sat down and we discussed and created a plan how they can come in and help. We need that from all agencies, from everybody to come in and say, hey, how can we help our kids? How can we help them learn? And like I said, everybody has something to offer. So
Deadly.
Yeah, piggybacking off what Troy said. So, one of the things is admin need to work together. So we do sit together and we say, okay, you know what, this is the focus for this month. So example, our virtues, we just share what we're going to be doing together. That we're all on the same page and all schools are tackling the same thing at the same time. So developing a scope and sequence, developing a year plan, and presenting that to the department. So for example, recreation, we met with them. We looked at developing our Pewasenakwan athletics, asking them to come in and help with intramurals, getting some ice scheduled. All of that stuff takes a wraparound project for the success of our kids. And so that's also meeting with the director for wellness, for Midwest Connections, everybody. When you think of our kids, everybody that can support our kids is those connections that need to be made. And then just look at the year plan and say, okay, you know what? This is the event we're planning to have this month. How can you help? So, for example, this month, December, a big part of our involvement is trying to invite our elders into our school, building up that capacity of the Muslim and Gugum spirit, right? Our job bonds, our babies. They just love to be around our babies, and same vice versa. Our little guys just love to be around our elders. And so we've had elders dinners for December, Unfortunately, this is a time of the month, time of the year that our families and anybody feels loss. And so our little guys, they're healing. They're little healers because they teach us to be present. As adults, I was told, and this stuck with me as adults, we try to visit two places that we can't anymore, which is the past and the present. So our babies teach us to be present in the moment. And that's why they make us feel like, okay, I didn't have a care in the world right now. And this is the most I felt like alive and centered. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, our elders, this December for our field trip, Perfect Attenders field trip, we're planning a Christmas craft elder meal day. I don't really even know what to call it besides our Perfect Attenders trip, but we're inviting our elders to come with us, be with us at the round hall, do some Christmas crafts, and just watch our babies be silly. We're going to have the bouncy house there for them. And
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, there's 49. 49. So last month it was 46. This month we have 49 perfect attenders. So Muslims, cookums, tapans, if you feel, like you want to feel young again, right? Come on out to we're planning it for the 15th of December at the Round Hall. And come and do a craft with your titums or your tapans, and yeah, have some fun. Feel
Okay,
present.
10 a.m. Santa will be there, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Deadly. Love it. So moving on to the next question. We're almost at the end here. I think this is the fun part. What has been a proud moment or story from this school year that really stands out?
Go ahead, Troy.
No, I'm gonna steal yours. Go ahead.
Okay, so, you know, something that stands out from a little guy, he was going home and he started crying at the door. And then I said, "What's happening?" I said, "What's wrong?" And he said he was just crying and he's like, "I don't want to stop learning. I don't want to go home." And it's funny because I thought he was really hurt, but that's what he was crying for. So our babies are so like pure and they just remind us that they just love being there, and so that was a proud moment for me as a principal because I'm trying to create a space of love, nurture, and that welcoming environment for our babies. And so that's something that stands out for me.
Uh, I was hoping that I'd be able to say this one and she wouldn't take it, but a couple of weeks ago, as I said, we talked about those AAC devices and that kind of stuff. Um, we're really trying to develop the students' vocabulary or ability to communicate. Because imagine that we weren't able to communicate. We weren't able to share what we're thinking or share how we're feeling, and just how frustrating that would be. And so we have these AAC devices for our students who are nonverbal. And now, a couple weeks ago, we have this one girl, and she was sitting with uh, our inclusion catalyst, and the girl starts looking at her tablet, her AAC device, and she's like, "Love you." On the AAC device, she's like,
Mm.
"Love you, love you, love you." And I just thought that was so cool, and just how
Yeah.
she's learning how to use this device and being able to communicate how she's feeling and what she wants and if she's hungry and that kind of stuff. So, again, imagine not having that ability, right? So how frustrating that would be. It was cool.
Cool.
And shortly after she did push love you on her AC device, she gave her a hug. And so it's just
Mm.
so nice to see that happening. So yeah, Troy, that was really good. That was a good one.
Yeah, yeah. Are there any student achievements? Maybe we touched on this already. Are there any student achievements, staff accomplishments, or school initiatives you'd like to spotlight?
Well, we have a lot of strong teachers. All our teachers are so strong and loving. I'd like to highlight that Miss Muchuinis is 65 years old and teaching pre-K. She just loves to be with our babies, and our babies love to be in her room. It's so nice to see I want to say like a master teacher, um, because she just develops a strong routine in her program. And it's just nice to see, her still wanting to be a part of our school at her age, and our students love her. We love her. Just this morning with one of our students who's nonverbal, she was in the gym with him and she was trying to jog with him. And I was just like,
Mm.
"Oh, way to go, Miss Smooch," but another one that is one of our seasoned teachers is Miss Eileen Chokin. That was her classroom I was in that said the Cree prayer
Mm.
so naturally and so beautifully, and so that's, our strengths in our school. We have a lot of grade one teachers too who are just making pathways in the programming for our little guys transitioning to grade two. So, a lot of good things happening at our school. Our teachers who just graduated, who are second year, they're coming into growth and learning how to make those connections with the families. They're developing their own routines and they're so strong. Our superintendents have nothing but good things to say about them. So, I want to highlight all of them because it's a team approach, and I just love our staff.
Yeah,
One
yeah.
thing that I want to say about our staff is we just hired like 7 new EAs, and they're all doing really awesome. Like one of them today was was just paired with a student who has an AAC device, and she's looking at it and is like, "I don't know how to use this. We need to learn." And I was like, Yeah, for sure, we do need to, and I think that's something that we're going to be touching on. And but all of them are doing a really good job for our students and our community. Again, really just trying our best to find out what our students need and how can we help our children. Right? I mean, I always think about the way that the buffalo when they wrap around, the babies when there's a predator
Mm,
coming, that kind of stuff.
yeah,
That's what we need to do when we think about our babies. So yeah.
yeah, yeah. Deadly. Couple more questions. What are your hopes for the remainder of the school year and beyond?
So a big thing is our Pewasenakwan athletics. Naturally, like I said, I was a phys ed teacher, and I see the importance of sports, especially organized sports for our babies. They're learning how to play as a team. Being on a team doesn't teach you just straight athletics; it teaches you a lot. And so that's one of the things I'd like to solidify this year. So we did introduce it with just primarily our grade ones, and I would like to see that, because it is, our first year, so it's basically like a pilot project. So we're gonna work through the kinks and what didn't work, where we need improvement. So right now we have some grade ones, a grade one class focusing on indoor soccer. The next class is gonna work on skating. So that's what I'm saying when we made those connections with the community rec. I'd also like to work with prevention because it's all starts with um a wraparound project, and
Mm,
so it's like, I really wanna see that work, so our Pewasenakwan athletics is kind of my little baby this year, so, obviously retention too and, building the connections, but Pewasenakwan athletics is kinda where I'm geared to for the remainder of the year. It's crazy, it's already December, and so it felt like literally it was just September, but, that's just how fast the school year moves, and so, that's my primary focus for the remainder of the year.
My hope is to make it out of the year alive. No, I'm kidding. No, no. Again, it's definitely a learning curve. Again, like I said, I started I knew found out on a Wednesday, was in the office on the Friday, and it really is a learning curve. And I really am appreciating being in Pewasenakwan. But my hope, again, is just to continue to build the identity of the student and try and uh, do my best in supporting that. So that's my hope.
deadly. I just want to say one thing, just on behalf of our program, the Public Relations and 7 Gen. We are actually funded under prevention, like we're another branch of prevention. If there's anything we could do to help, like resources or whatever, feel free to reach out and utilize us. I think for sure, like if on just from our end, once a month we can help you guys somehow, some way, whether it's incentive for something. Denise is our community events coordinator. Maybe I'll have her come visit you guys and
Mhm,
brainstorm something on our behalf.
mhm.
But anyway, moving on. If you could describe Pewasenakwan Primary School in one word or one teaching, what would it be and why?
One word.
I'm just gonna say fun. I mean, um, I'm having a lot of fun there. Every time, like I get up at 5:45 every morning, because I live a little further away, and I get in my car. Hopefully, I'm in my car by 6:30, and I drive, and I'm here by 8, and you know I'm tired, but I'm walking up to the school and I can't wait to see the kids' faces. So, because they just like Tamara said, They keep you present, and it just allows you that ability to just just be in the present and feel happy and to see them and just be with them. So that's how I would sum it up. I don't know how you would.
Well, it's definitely fun. I'm a natural empath. So I want to say it's love. Our babies are just straight up love. They teach us to look at love in different points of view. And it could look like meeting their primary needs with a hug at the door. They teach us to forgive. Oh my God, that's one of my highlight moments. Okay, so our pre K babies, this is such a sweet story. They Pre-K are so silly. They can fight each other and then they're gonna love each other right away. So this is a story like that. This little let's just say student A hit this other student through a snow. It just happened to have a little bit of hard whatever. Anyways, they got hurt. So I talked to the student and we went to the other one and apologized, right? And when you picture pre-K, they're just like 4 years old, so they're just our tiny ones, and, I said, "Okay, he has something he needs to say to you." And then I looked at him, I said, "Are you ready?" And he said, "Yep." And then he said, "I'm sorry." And then she said, "That's okay." And she just gave him a hug, and they just hugged right away, like, leaned into each other. And then she said, "Did you wanna come into my classroom? Did you wanna come play?" And I just looked at the teacher, and me and her kinda had a aha moment because just so quick to forgive. And I think that's what I'm saying about love. They teach us, they remind us to forgive, they remind us to love one another, they remind us to do better. And so that's why I think our school is love. They remind us, teach us every day. But yeah, so yeah, that was one of my aha moments because it was just so cute.
Yeah. It's awesome. I love that. So that's it for me. That's all the questions I have. Did you guys want to go over some of this your postings here on
Yes.
FB? Okay, I'll see if I could share them. We'll screen share.
Okay, so what you're seeing is our dental team and our nutritionist team. They
Hold on. One sec. Okay. Okay, right here. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so when we're talking about making those connections, we have a really good relationship with a lot of our a lot well, everybody. So we had our nutritionist, Ashley, and our dental therapist, Sierra, do some dental and health presentations in the classrooms. And what they did was teach them oral care, dental care, and they've also talked about proper nutrition, obviously at our primary base. But what they also shared was quinoa salad. So, when you think about it, you think, oh man, our babies are not going to like that. But everybody loved the quinoa salad. So, if you see it right there, there's quinoa, kale, green apple, and then they made some sauce with balsamic vinegar. And the class that enjoyed it the most is our Head Start. So, when you're thinking about it, it's a good reminder for us to not think our babies aren't open to trying new food because, our babies of the school love the quinoa salad. And so, that was very encouraging. So if you want to scroll a little further down, Troy will talk about our Spirit Week.
So coming up in from the 15th to the 19th, we have our Christmas Spirit Week. So just different days in which we do a little Christmas themed things. For example, December 15th is wear your Christmas colors. December 16th, dress your Christmas best. December 17th is Christmas hat day. And the 18th is Christmas festive wear. And the 19th is Christmas PJ or slipper day. So that's going to be fun. And it's always fun to see the kids come in and doing and wearing these and participating in the Spirit Week. So
Yeah, and
yeah.
I just want to add to that, they don't need to wear just primary Christmas. It's basically pajama day. And, I don't want nobody to think they need to break the buck to join in on this, okay? So
Mhm.
you just do your best.
Question. On the 19th, I know it's the last day. It's a half day for everybody. Are you guys doing like a fun day or pizza or anything?
We usually
Can
do like it is a fun day. So in the past we've had like a movie in the gym with a pillow and your stuffy. I think we'll make that collective choice with the teachers, right? Like I said, it's a team approach. So
Mhm.
we can see what works, but usually in previous practice we had a movie in the gym with like pajamas and their stuffy and we just had a treat.
And I also heard that Santa is going to be visiting Pewasenakwan a little earlier than the 25th.
Mm.
That might be happening that week. I think maybe on a Thursday. I have to double check with Santa's elves.
Mhm.
Deadly. um, could yeah, just let me know. But could this program sponsor? I don't know if pizza is a thing over there on the
Mhm.
19th. We could do that. Just let us know.
Okay, you're on. You
All right.
can you can bring the pizza. The kids would love that.
You can
Yeah.
sponsor me a pizza right now if you want, man.
Pretty
Okay.
sure Fans is open. Okay, so if,
Cafe.
yeah, if you can see on there, we have our Christmas craft fair coming up on the
Ninth.
9th, which is literally next week. So anybody can come out. It is $10 a table. Um, we've had great success with our craft fairs in the past, and our students, you wouldn't think about it, but our students bring cash. Because they're babies, right? They could literally ask their Muslim for $30, and then all of a sudden they're bringing a 50. But no, our little guys bring cash. So, and our staff, we support our community. So come out, come and um, come out if you're a crafty
Yeah.
person.
And like target the kids, right? For
No, well, we get adults
adults.
coming. Yeah. So one of our, we usually get Verna's popcorn coming.
Mm,
We have Mona Champagne coming with all her stuff. Uh, and then we usually just have snacks and stuff. But it's open to everybody.
deadly. Um,
Okay, so those are our important dates for December. So we already talked about the dental presentations, our craft fair. On the 11th, families is our Christmas concert. It will begin at 5:30. So we will have private parking. We will have parking in the east side parking lot. Security will be present and helping assist with that night. So thank you again to our security of Onion Lake. They always provide us with that extra support and we're very thankful. Um, I just want to touch base on what that night looks like. Usually in the past, we've had, 7th Gen come out and do some live broadcasting. This year, though, we do have a media release form, and there are some families that have signed no consent. So just respecting everybody and trying to make it a safe environment, we aren't going to be going live. So just being respectful for everybody that does not have the consent out.
mhm.
So I'm sorry, families, but that's just, making sure everybody feels safe and supported. However, we'll also encourage our families not to go live that night. Just being respectful for everybody. Our Christmas dinner is on the 16th. Mr. LaRock, you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, so about 11:30, we're gonna start to have everybody. Again, everybody's welcome to come to join the kids and the staff at Pewasenakwan in dinner. We have turkey, ham, potatoes. I know last time that we ran out, that was Thanksgiving. So hopefully we bought enough this time to feed everybody that shows up and participates. A couple dates that aren't on there. One of them is the our assemblies. We are having our assemblies on the 10th, and we make sure that everybody gets an award within the classroom. So that's exciting. And then another one that's not on there is, and we talked about, was the perfect attendance trip, and that was the craft lunch at the Round Hall. So
Deadly.
Yeah, and Santa, if you see, Santa visits the school on the 18th. So families, make sure you send your babies on the 18th. Santa comes to visit Pewa.
Cool, cool. Is there pictures with Santa? Like, could a parent come have a picture with their kid with Santa? Is that an option?
I think Santa might be sitting with us today, so we could probably get some pictures. No, we can set up. We
Screenshot
usually
this.
do. We we set up a photo booth. Our Eleanor Sparvier, our librarian, really does a good job with that. So we'll have pictures.
Okay. I think that's it for announcements from the page. If you guys are good with that.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Okay. Other than that, I think we covered everything. I went through the full set of questions. I know Tamara was saying nope, no time. Just kidding. But yeah, that's all I got. If there's anything else from you guys, anything you want to elaborate on, or something we might have forgot, maybe.
You know, I just want to say we do have some pre-K that we're struggling with potty training, and so some parents were feeling a little apprehensive of sending them. Once they're potty trained, for sure, bring them. It's okay if they're potty trained in January. That doesn't mean they don't get to come. I would encourage families to, yes, come register them. Um, it's just a better success rate moving into kindergarten, a smoother transition. And you do think like they're just playing, but they're still learning. They're, like I said, they're learning routines, procedures. They're doing fine motor grasp, and that looks like cutting. When you're thinking about it, it seems so innocent, cutting with scissors, but that's fine motor, holding a pencil, proper way to hold a pencil. So our students are still learning, but it's in a fun way. So I would really encourage our families, that do have pre-K babies, come see our wonderful pre-K teachers, and we'll support you. And if you are also seeing your little guy probably having a little bit of struggle, come in and meet with us. I can help you. I can make those connections for you. We have a wonderful inclusion catalyst. We have a good support system at Pewa. So come in, don't be shy. There's no wrong answer. There's no wrong question. We all learn together. And that's what our babies teach us every day. They teach us to learn. And there's no wrong way, there's no right way. And that's the beauty of education, right? We're always learning.
Yeah.
for me, I guess just the importance of retention, of sending your kids. Again, we don't think about these things, but routines and expectations are very important when it comes to um, uh, the kids' education and development. So send your babies to school. That's about it. That's all I want to stress.
Right on. Hi. Hi again to our principal and vice principal from Pewasenakwan Primary School for joining us today and sharing their vision, passion, and commitment to our young ones. On behalf of Bonnie Lake Public Relations and 7 Gen Productions, we acknowledge the work being done every day to uplift our kids, our culture, and our future. Thank you to all the listeners. Stay connected, stay informed, and we'll see you on the next episode of the 7 Generation Podcast. Hi.